Good evening. I will call to order the February 3rd, 2022 Smyrna Municipal Planning Commission meeting. And with that, Tony's going to lead us in prayer and Tim in the pledge. So if you'd all stand, please.
Most gracious Father, we just come before you tonight, thanking you for all the blessings that you've given us in our life, Father. We thank you for this city that we live in and this country that you've blessed us with. Father, we just ask that you be with this board as we deliberate the business of the town tonight. Father, just give us guidance and wisdom and just always allow our decisions to be made in the best interest of the town and the citizens that it serves. Father, we ask for forgiveness of our sins and in all things, Father, we ask this in Christ your Son's name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tony and Tim. Citizens' comments. Our next agenda item is approval of the minutes of the January 13th, 2022 meeting. Counselor, are the meeting minutes in order?
In order as to form, Chairman.
All right. I have a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The minutes are approved. We are now on to new business. Our first item is a de-annexation request. John Hill, 8810 Briley Road, de-annexation R1 to RM.
This is a rare request, but we do have a request tonight. This is a piece of property. It's kind of adjacent to the Blakeney development, which is a zone PRD. The other surrounding zoning in the county is RM. Our land use plan would support a medium density here, residential here. A little history on this one. In June of 2019, as a part of the Blakeney development, and a portion of Mr. Hill's property was annexed as a part of a land swap with the developers of Blakeney, and the land that was swapped to Mr. Hill is still within the town. At the time, it was not de-annexed. I didn't request for it to be de-annexed. It was rezoned from the Blakeney PRD just to an R1 zoning. And now Mr. Hill does wish for it to be removed from the town limits. It is the very rear portion of his property. It is vacant currently. It is actually an area that would be difficult for the town to provide services. We have not expended any effort or money to provide services there. There's no utilities or anything like that that's happened to be extended to that area. Again, he has requested it to be de-annexed, and it would just go back to the county zoned RM. There is a little bit, his application was 3.5 acres, but it is actually about 4.13 acres. It's the area that is yellow, highlighted in yellow on the map there on the screen and in your packet, is the area that we're talking about. We did have a comment from CUD. They do have the water main to serve that area. There is a house on the property, but it's not in the annexed area anyway. So again, it is something that the property owner has requested this. Again, we have no issues with the request, and I anticipate at some point in the future it may come back into the city, certainly, but at this time we just wish for it to be removed from the town limits.
Okay. So as I understand it, we're not providing any services, and you're not seeing that this would negatively impact any of the services that we are currently providing to the area that are within the town limits?
Correct.
Okay. Other questions or comments for Kevin? Do I have a motion? I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this de-annexation request. Any further discussion?
So this is actually to approve 4.13 acres of 3.5.
Correct. Okay, Kevin, you'll note that, correct?
Sure.
Okay, good. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor of approving this de-annexation request signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? This motion carries. Our next agenda item is an annexation and plan of service request. SEC Incorporated on behalf of John Mitchell Burns, 6787 Kew Garden, annexation in R3 zoning.
Yeah, this is an annexation request. It's a very small area that has been requested to be annexed. It is a part of a parcel. The existing subdivision that has been developed, they do want to add a little small area to one of the lots. That area is not within the town, and so that's what has prompted this request. It is an annexation with an R3 zoning request. Surrounding zoning is all R3 in town, RM in Rutherford County, and that is consistent with our land use plan for that area. Nothing with regards to the major thoroughfare plans affected by this request. As far as services, the town would be providing the services here, all the services. So it's consistent with what we're doing already within the development. Again, it's just that it's literally 2/100ths of an acre that they've been requested to be annexed to add to a lot within the Walnut Ridge development. So we would recommend it to you.
Questions for Kevin?
No, they're wanting to build a house and they want to make the lot a little bigger. The house that's planned to make the house fit, basically, yeah.
Other questions? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second to approve this annexation and plan of service request. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. This should take us to rezoning request. Our first item is Michael LeBreton, 352 West Sam Ridley Parkway, rezoning C2 to PCD.
Yes, this is a rezoning request, about 1.17 acres. It's at the corner of Sam Ridley Parkway and Needham Drive. This is a part of the new development that's underway there, the Stone Trace development. Surrounding zoning is all C2. There is our land use plan for this area, we call it the Sam Ridley corridor character area. It supports a kind of a mix of the higher intensity regional retail and service uses with office, medical, hospitality, and residential uses also allowed. This proposed PCD is for a 2,656 square feet building. It's a 4-bay oil change business, valve convenience and oil change. The major thoroughfare plan does designate Needham Drive as a collector and Sam Ridley Parkway as a principal arterial, and the right-of-way is there for those. On your desk, we have kind of a packet with some site plans as well as the architectural elevations that are proposed. It is a largely brick building with some ephes kind of on a tower area. Certainly, it does meet our current requirements for design review from a percentage. The percentages required for brick and everything like that. The site plan does show. One of the things we're certainly concerned about this and other type drive-through type establishments is adequate stacking, and they do have coming into the site all the stacking for the business. There, you'll go around to the back and come out towards the front towards Sam Ridley Parkway. So they're their stacking. It's 4 lanes wide, and it would be within their site room to stack several cars. So. Don't feel like there'll be an issue there with cars backing out into Needham Drive there. One thing just at Needham Drive is just as an aside, it's not a full access any longer there. That is being constructed as a left turn in, but you will not be able to turn left coming out there. So that does kind of obviously affect some of the traffic flow coming out of that site, but it still has, obviously with Jeannie Lane and all the other access points, it won't be an issue for folks getting in and out of here. But just from a traffic safety standpoint, I did want to point that out as well, just as a reminder. We talked about that in the past, we talked about Stone Trace, but it's been some time, so. And I believe that's what I got.
Questions for Kevin?
Kevin, what's the primary reason they want to do a PCD instead of just leaving it C2?
Well, the use is not allowed in C2 any longer. We've had a couple others, similar type uses, over on, one on Seven Oaks and one on, off Cheney, in the last several months. So that is why it's here. The use is
Okay.
allowed by right now only in the C5 district, so.
Right, from a planning perspective, when you look at that map, do you feel okay with a PCD as opposed to a C2?
Well, for this type of use, that's the only option I would feel comfortable with. I wouldn't feel comfortable with a C5, I don't think, at that location. The others that we have had come through have been more, I'd say more, not quite as frontage on the main road. They've been a little bit more hidden behind other
That's why I'm
things.
asking the question.
So this will be a little bit of a change in that regard. In both of those situations, they were pretty much surrounded by C2 as well. From a strictly a zoning standpoint, I think that would be I would say that would be a change, but it is a change. It is more prominent to Sam Ridley Parkway versus, maybe being a little more hidden behind, other development so, I mean, the building, I don't have any, the building that they're proposing is very much in keeping with what our design guidelines are now, so that's not an issue.
I may have missed this. Is this related to, I believe there's a.
There is an existing,
Maybe 500 yards from here. I mean,
there is an existing store in front of Kroger, yeah.
So is that related to this? Is this a totally separate entity? Or
It's the same company, I believe.
just same company?
Yeah, they have representation here. They might could answer their questions as far as their internally, what their plans are for the existing site or whatever.
Tim, would you like to? Okay, is there a representative here? If you could come up and give us your name and address, please.
Name's Michael Leverton, and I'm here representing Valvoline Instant Oil Change. If you want me to address, so yes, we do have a 3-bay oil change center that's on the other side of Sam Ridley. I believe it's just a little bit to the southwest, if I'm not mistaken. And the main reason we're coming in here with a 4-bay center is just kind of alleviate some stress off the 3-bay. It's one of our highest performing stores in the system, and we'd want to bring another one here just to continue our success and expand in the city.
Got it. So this is increasing capacity
Correct.
ultimately? Okay.
Just at a different location, so the other one doesn't go away.
The other one is not going away.
Okay.
There's no planning in the short term or long term for that at the moment.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Kevin, just for conversation's sake, I'm being hypothetical here. Let's say we give approval for this zoning change, and then this business decides at some point they're not going to fulfill the build. We've just zoned this and left it wide open for somebody else, have we not?
We have zoned it left it for someone else to do a similar use.
Right.
Yeah, they would have to meet the same, I mean, we're talking, there's a
You'd have
specific
to come
building
here for
square
approval, we
footage.
know that,
I
yeah.
mean, and all those things. But yes, it certainly, if Valvoline backs out of this and has been rezoned, someone else who wants to do a similar type business, similar type square footage of building, layout, all those things, could come back and do something, yes.
Do you see the way this is oriented with the way the bays are lined and whatnot? Is this consistent with what we've seen and you know, I know that we've had some other oil change places, but we've also had some tire facilities that also do oil changes as well. Is this oriented in a similar fashion to what we have?
It is oriented in a similar fashion of what is existing on Sam Ridley already, with the store he referenced, certainly, with, you've got three different tire, automobile type repair businesses that are facing Sam Ridley Parkway or facing Industrial Boulevard, I-24 out there near Target, that I can think of just off the top of my head if I'm remembering right. So it's situated similar to what those have been as far as the existing buildings that were all built when this use was allowed by right in C2. The other two that we have, we've got 3 times we have approved now, I believe, PCD type requests, 2 oil change businesses and 1 that was just more of a general automotive repair business. And again, the layout is relatively similar. All those locations though were not on kind of our main artery, so to speak, like a Sam Ridley Parkway. They were on a more remote location, I guess you might say. Like say Cheney Road or Seven Oaks Boulevard, or the other one was on Amelville near Publix, but not on Lee Victory. So.
Okay. Other questions or comments? Good? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve staff comments.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and second to approve with staff comments. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
We good? Catherine? Got it? Okay. On to preliminary plats. Our first one is Blakeney, Section 4, 8319 Rocky Fork, Amable Road, owner developer Blakeney Partners GP.
Yes, this is Section 4 of Blakeney. It is 8.9 acres. The report says 26 lots. It's actually, as they have worked through some issues on their construction plans, it's actually now 25 lots. There's one less lot there, but it is still, the 8.9 acres. This is directly adjacent to the area that's been requested for de-annexation. This was part of his land that he had swapped over. We had several comments. Most of those were from Consolidated Utility District. And then most of the other comments we had were kind of standard comments that would need to remain. There was really only one comment that that they could have addressed, and that's comment number 6 regarding the easements, showing those delineations and their extent and labels. They have taken care of that one, so we can remove comment number 6. Comments 1 through 5, and then 7 and 8 are really just standard comments from us, and then 9 through the end all came from Consolidated Utility District. So they did need to work through with CUD on those. So, so with those, basically I said the comments, removing number 6, we're in good shape and could recommend approval to you.
Questions for Kevin?
Kevin, is this water availability survey a new thing from CUD?
No, the water service availability, that's something that the developer has to work directly with CUD, and they do That is something that's, I don't know how new it's been something that's been in place for a while now, I know.
Okay.
For sure. Because that's something that's a pretty standard comment from them.
Are they-
Often they'll have that form already. This says they do need to submit that again. I know they've worked with, this isn't a new development for CUD to be looking at. This is section 4, so, I don't know why, that's kind of internal to them, why they need another one for this phase, I guess.
Well, that's actually was going to be my next question. Is CUD doing another capacity survey, or is this really just for the development of CUD's capacity, not so much water storage capacity?
Well, I don't know the answer to that other than I know that Blakeney has had some issues with fire flow, with the first phase, and then everything my understanding was taken care of. Their comment number 11 on this is there's not adequate fire flow here now. So I know that's something I know the fire department's worked with CUD on and everybody to come to that they had adequate capacity now or fire flow for it. I don't know if that's why they've asked for another form. I know that there's several developments in that area that are somewhat being held up, trying to figure out, because there's something that needs to happen with some sort of, within the CUD system with a pump station, and they've identified an area they need this station, and they can't, for whatever reason, are having trouble finding land to build it, so.
Other questions?
So if CUD gives them a will serve letter, they should be able to use that for approval at some point, but they still wouldn't be able to get certificates of occupancy, is that correct?
Well, they couldn't get building permits.
They can get building permits, right?
We want to know if there's adequate fire flow really before we do permits.
Okay.
Otherwise, we have to look into some sort of sprinkler situation, which
Right.
we try
That
to
was my
avoid,
next-
but
right.
that would be the other potential option for them.
Other questions? Do I have a motion?
I move to approve of staff comments.
I have a motion to approve the staff comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the staff comments. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? This motion is approved. Our next item is Cheney Road, 314 Cheney Road, owner, developer, Coleman Building Company.
This is a preliminary plat. It's 7 lots, 3.78 acres. All the lots would front Cheney Road. This is directly, it's a portion of Cheney Road. It's kind of the northernmost part of Cheney Road. It is within the town. It's directly across from Laverne High School's football stadium. It's where this is at. It's again 7 lots, 3.78 acres. It's zoned R4. The 7 lots, as an R4 development, what they're looking at doing is 0 lot line. So those 7 lots would eventually be all divided in half, and so you'd end up with 14 eventually, but this time it's just the 7 lots. We had several comments, which are standard comments, 1 through 4. I will note number 5. Cheney Road is a collector on a thoroughfare plan, and there is adequate right-of-way there shown for that. Construction plans, again, that's a standard comment regarding construction plans. Comments 7 and 8. Number 7, they're showing a mail kiosk kind of at the southernmost point of the development. We did ask them to look at an off-road area, primarily as a kiosk versus a mailbox. There may be multiple, obviously the postal service will be making multiple deliveries in one location. And so they did actually look at it kind of a pull-off area with a couple of parking spots, but then that would have forced anyone to have to back out into Cheney Road, which I didn't like. So they've kind of went back to their original plan. There is a pretty large detention area right there, so to have anything to get something off-site, like a small driveway off-site or something like that with a turnaround, gets pretty difficult right there because of the detention pond. So I was hopeful, since it's 7 lots, that the post office might be willing to just deliver mail like the old-fashioned way. But I guess since it's because it's 8 lots, if it's less than 8 lots, they typically, or that's their policy, it's 8 or more lots is where they require the kiosk. But I guess since eventually it's going to be 14, that's how they looked at it. So they are requiring the kiosk. So, yeah, I'm okay with what they're proposing. I think, looking at it big picture, and I think that's probably the best way to handle it if we're going to have a kiosk. And then number 8 was really kind of an informational thing that they're going to have to provide some construction plans, because they're actually going to be going to a lift station near Laverne High School, and so they'll going to have to upsize that lift station for this. So they're aware of that. So that comment would still need to remain as well. So with those comments, we would recommend approval.
So this is not a rezoning request. We're already zoned
It's
R4.
zoned R4, has been for, predates my time here, so. There's an existing house and two existing houses that are gonna be taken out as part of this. There is one existing house that's gonna remain, but the 2 existing houses are going away, and they're gonna be building these back in their place, so.
And as proposed, this meets all the requirements as far as setbacks.
Yes.
The lift station will have to be upgraded. Will they cover that expense?
Yes.
City maintains after that?
City will be maintaining it, but they'll do all the work to build it, upgrade it.
Is this close to where the storage facility is?
So, no, it's, like I said, it's across from Laverne High, track and football field. It's north of the school, the Cedar Grove,
Okay.
yeah.
Other questions or comments?
Kevin, can you speak to the design review of an R4?
Well, it's, from a stamp, there is none, I guess. It's just
Because
like,
it just goes with the zoning.
it's 1 and 2 family, like the same as an R3 or an R1 type development, or someone that's really up to the developer, what they're planning to build. So I honestly don't know what the plans are here, beyond their 0 lot lines, and they have to meet all the building setbacks and all those kind of things, but there's nothing with regards to material requirements that we have on that.
I wonder if anybody's here that can.
Is there a developer here for this, or owner, that could come up and speak to, I think we may have a few questions. If you could come up and give us your name and address, please.
My name is Cortland Coleman, 4552 Garcia Boulevard in Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Okay, Mark?
Cortland, can you tell me what they plan to build these with materials?
Yeah, I'm doing a similar project in Murfreesboro right now called Oak Haven Townhomes. And so basically we're taking 2 of these townhomes and going to make 0 lot lines. They're approximately 1,900 square foot brick hardy board. I would prefer here to use, I plan on using the HP hardy board looking stuff. It's pre-painted. They're 2-car garages. tan brick, brown gutters in nature. We built a very high-quality product, and I really think this will be a really nice
I got you on
addition to
record
the area
now.
over there.
I've got you on record now.
Yeah, well, that's what we do. So we do intend on sodding front yards, landscaping, irrigation in the front, homeowner association. Sometimes when you get zero lot lines, the maintenance of the properties, some people mow here and there. So I do intend on this being a very nice project. So.
Other questions?
That's all I had.
Okay, anybody else?
Are all of them gonna be 2 or 3 bedroom?
Yes, they're 1,900 square foot, so they're all at least 3 bedrooms, 2-car garage, and have office and bonus room.
Okay.
We go in, we put custom cabinets. I mean, these are nice products, so they're really nice. And I do have some pictures that we could share with you guys at a later time of the project I'm doing right now. And we got a great relationship with Murfreesboro, our
Did you
codes
bring 'em with you?
inspectors. And with this being a high traffic area, we keep a very clean job site, keep roads clean. We're kind of anal about what we do and how we do it.
Did you say you have pictures here?
I have it on my phone, so
Okay.
I don't know how we'd share it.
No, I thought maybe you had something drawn out or some photos that we could pass up.
I promise you, you guys will be very impressed with what we do.
Okay.
We use 6-inch gutters and really nice garage doors, so.
My big thing, I'm sorry, go ahead, Andrew. No, my big thing is just the design. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got zoning that allows you to do a lot of things,
Yeah.
but I like knowing that you're not gonna do a lot of those things.
Right, no,
So,
no,
yeah, okay.
no. And my goal is with our first project in Smyrna, I want you guys to come away thinking, hey, we'll work with him again.
Yeah.
That's our mentality in Murfreesboro. We got a great track record.
Right.
The pre-painted exterior board that you mentioned, that is a cement-based board?
No, it's actually not a cement base, but I have learned through this process of building these townhomes. I wish I would have talked to Murfreesboro about it sooner because I did agree to a 100% masonry product there. It's a better product. It doesn't, it's pre-painted. It doesn't absorb moisture like a concrete board would. It looks just like hardy board. It's the thickness of hardy board, but ultimately it's kind of like OSB backing.
It's a wood-based product?
Yes, it's wood-based product, but it's got like a vinyl coating on the outside with I believe it's a lifetime warranty. But it's similar in cost of hardy board. What it really does is it kind of saves you the time, weather-related, trying to get it painted after you put hardy board up. And I'm running that problem right now, trying to finish up a product in Murfreesboro. So you wouldn't know the difference of it.
I'm familiar with it, but for their sake, it might be.
Yeah.
helpful.
It's a really
Helpful
good
to
product.
see.
It's not really cost savings or anything. I think it's better for the homeowners long-term, and it is a little bit more easier application, so.
Does that, Kevin, does that fit inside our material list?
Again, probably if this were a multifamily project, we'd have to look at that. But again, this is not, it doesn't really, for this, we can't really specify materials. It's one
I'm
and two
sure it
families.
would. It's way better than vinyl siding. It's a lot, and even we go as far as to like the shaft liners we use between the firewalls. I use fiberglass. It's more expensive, but it's better quality product. So everything we do is very high quality. So, the bottom levels are all brick. We put soldier ledges in there, and then the top stories have some dormers with vertical hardy board and board batten and stuff like that. Really nice windows, 6-inch gutters. Everything we do, we put a very high-looking, good quality product out there. And even going on the inside, custom cabinets and smooth ceilings and crown moldings, and what we do is very high quality. So.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir. Any other questions for staff? Do I have a motion?
Just to approve with staff comments.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve with staff comments. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? This motion carries. Our next agenda item is Patterson Property Subdivision, Spring Hill Drive. Owner, developer Ronald Patterson.
Yeah, this is a preliminary plat. It's 24 lots, 7.42 acres in an R3 zone. We had a few comments. Several of them are standard comments, so 1 through 4 would all need to remain just the standard comments. Comment number 5, Spring Hill Drive is a collector on our thoroughfare plan, and they are dedicating the right-of-way here for that. So that is in good shape. Comment number 6, we had, there is a small stub street. We'd asked them to provide a street name for that. It was just labeled as Street A. They have done that now, but we do still need to get the 911 approval for that road name. Comment number 7 regarding the drainage easements, that has been labeled and indicated on the plat now. And then also, we did ask them to show, and they have done that now, the additional 5 feet of side building setback along any lot where there isn't an easement. So comment 7 can be removed. And comment number 8 regarding the minimum rock diameter on the construction interest detail, that has been taken care of, so we can also remove comment number 8 as well. For the planning commission's information on this is we are working with the developer on this one. This is a project where the town is trying to get the Spring Hill Drive connection made from the existing Spring Hill Drive to the schools. So it'll help tremendously with traffic flow and to and from the Rocky Fork Elementary and Middle Schools. And so this would be a plat that would, when it's recorded, that would be for the town to be able to do the road project, for the main road project there. So, but anyway, so basically comments 1 through 6, with 6 being amended, is what we would have left, and we would recommend approval.
Kevin, we've had this Spring Hill, I guess, connector, for lack of a better word, kind of on the thoroughfare plan for some time now, have we not?
Yeah, it's been there. Well, I mean, it predates my time here, so it's
Yeah.
been there a long time. So, the school board built a portion of it, and of course, it was already built on one side, and this will make that connection.
What's the distance that we're looking at here? Do we know?
I don't know, Charles probably knows exactly. I don't
Charles,
know how long exactly it is.
do you recall
It's
how?
about 1,750 feet, about a third of a mile
Okay.
connector there. And the other thing is right up at where it connects back into Wildwood and the school, the Butlers have graciously donated that, and that was recorded this week. So we
Okay.
do have the other piece of property there for this project.
All right, very good. Thank you. We already have the zoning in place, so there's no change to that. That zoning is
R3.
consistent with, what do you have, Hunters Point and Johnstown and?
Yeah, all those developments, Cedar Forest,
Yeah.
St. John's Wood, all those
All
are
R3,
all
so it'll be
R3, yeah,
similar to the homes
right,
that are in that neighborhood.
right.
Okay. Further questions of staff? If none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve with staff
I have a motion to approve with staff comments from Amy. Do I have a second? Second from Mike? Okay. I have a motion and a second to approve with staff comments. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? This motion carries. Looks like we're now on to final plats. Our first one is Blakeney Section 3, Phase 1, intersection of Rocky Fork, Elmville Road and Morton Lane, owner developer Blakeney Partners, GP.
Yeah, this is the final plat for Blakeney Section 3, Phase 1. It's 84 lots, 19.25 acres. We had several comments. Most of them are pretty standard comments, 1 through 7. Some of them from CUD, and then we did ask them for 911 approval for some of these road names, which we still do need to get, so we'll need to keep that comment. But everything is in order here. It is consistent with the approved PRD and as well as the preliminary plat that was approved. So we would recommend approval with those comments.
Questions for Kevin? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the staff.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve with staff comments. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? This motion carries. Our next item is Blakeney Section 3, Phase 2, intersection Rocky Fork, Alma Road, and Morton Lane. Owner, developer, Blakeney Partners, GP.
Yeah, this is the next other phase or part of Section 3 of Blakeney. It's it's 24 lots, 13.22 acres. Again, some very similar comments as the one we just looked at. Again, we still do need the 911 approval for a couple of the road names. But the other comments, 1 through 7, we would just need to keep all those. Again, consistent with the zoning and the preliminary plat for this, so we would recommend approval with those comments.
Questions or comments? Do I have a motion? I have a motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second to approve with staff comments. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? This motion carries. Our next item under final plats is Burton Farms Annex, Burton Farms Drive, Corner Drive. Owner, developer, RHB LLC.
Yeah, this is Burton Farms Annex, 34 lots, 13.16 acres. We had a few comments, most of which are standard comments, certainly 1 through 3 are all standard. We did have a comment regarding the lift station that came from our utilities department. We would need to keep that one because I don't know exactly. It may have been changed, but the utilities would need to review that. Number 5, they did add and did show there is an existing force main on the property, and they have shown that is actually going to be removed as part of the development. So they did show that, so we can remove comment number 5. And then 6 through 10 are all from Consolidated Utility District. And so we would just need to keep those, and they need to work with CUD directly on that. So the comments, again, we can remove number 5. With those other comments, we would recommend approval.
So 1 through 4 remain.
1 through 4, and then 6 through 10.
Okay. And this is consistent with what we've seen on preliminary?
Consistent with the preliminary plat, and, yeah,
And this is R3? so-
R3. Which is consistent with the zoning with Burton Farms and Patton Retreat that are in that area, so.
Kevin, that's on CUD. How far does Smyrna go? Does it go past Chicken Pike?
I know on the east side, all of that is on CUD. I'm not sure about the west side, to be honest with you. I can't recall exactly where the boundary is in that area. But all of Burton Farms is on CUD, and Patton Retreat.
Patton Retreat.
Is all on CUD.
It's across the road where that new development's in Lennox Village. Is that on Smyrna?
I believe that's CUD, I believe. I'm not 100% sure though, actually, I don't recall. Yeah, yeah. I know Cantrell Farms, which is on CUD, that's on the west side of Chicken Pike there at Old National Highway, so.
Other questions for staff? Do I have a motion?
Move for approval with staff comments.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments from Tony. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Andrew. A motion and a second to approve with staff comments. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? This motion carries. Our next item under final plats is lots 1 and 2. Lee Victory Commercial Property, Lee Victory Parkway. Owner, developer, B&T Land Partners, LLC, John Trout and Dwayne Beard.
Yeah, this is 2 lots, it's in Zone C2 on 2.21 acres on Lee Victory, almost to the interstate there. We had several standard comments, really 1 through 4 would need to remain. Comment number 5, Lee Victory is a principal arterial, and they are adequate right-of-way is shown there for that. Comments 6 is regarding the owner's signature just before it's signed, so we need to keep that. Comment 7, we asked them to provide documentation. There is an existing piece of property that's actually owned by Parkway Baptist Church that runs kind of through this property. That is kind of a secondary access for the church. It is everyone's understanding that when that was set up, that the remaining property here that had access to that, we'd ask them just to provide documentation of that, because that is going to be the only access that these lots can use, because there will be no access allowed by TDOT there to Lee Victory. So that would need to remain. Comment number 8 was a utilities comment that they'll need to look at regarding the 80-inch water main there. So we need to keep comment 8. Number 9 we can remove. And then I do need to add one comment based on reviewing the final plans we received today, or yesterday actually, but I reviewed it today. There's 2 lots, and then there's a remaining like 6.5 acres. But across that 6.5 acres, there's a water line easement is proposed that will go all the way up to the adjoining Adelaide Park development. And so that easement will need to be shown for purposes of dedicating that easement to the town. So they need to kind of revise the plat to show that entirety of that easement, that 20-foot water line easement on that remaining 6.52 acres. So we need to add that comment to the list. So we can take off number 9, but we need to add a different number 9 back to it. So, but with those comments as I just amended, we would recommend approval.
Kevin, this zoning is consistent with what we have zoned in the area there, correct?
Yeah, that whole area is zone C2.
Okay. Other questions or comments?
The access you said off of both these parcels will have to come out on that access road.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this Lee Victory is a restricted access, so they won't be, any TDOT permits won't be.
Is the road that's there now, is that a private road?
Yes.
Okay.
And that will stay private?
Yes.
Okay. Other questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve of staff comments and the addition of the additional staff comment to show the water line easement per staff recommendation.
Okay.
Second.
Second? The motion and second to approve the staff comments. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? This motion carries. Our next item is Prologis South Park, intersection Amable Road, I-24, 2020, 2050, 2080, Midway Lane, owner developer Prologis LP.
Yeah, this is the PID that was approved a few months ago. This is just a plat to create easements as well as for like your utility easements, as well as the kind of reconfiguring the land basically into 2 lots. And so it's 86.66 acres, but it's only 2 lots. We had several standard comments, 1 through 6. Those would all need to remain. Comment number 7, note 3 still shows the zoning as residential, and it's not residential, it's industrial, the PID. So we'll need to keep number 7. Comment number 8 has been addressed, so it can be removed. Comment number 9 was really just an informational comment regarding the Olive Branch sewer is not operational there. It is shown, but it is not operational yet, hopefully soon. And then comments 10, 11, 12 are from CUD. There is still they still got to work through with CUD before they can get any building permits on this because of some fire flow issues there that they'll have to work through with CUD on that. But so we do want to keep those comments there. So we can remove number 8, but keep the rest of them. And with that, staff would recommend approval.
Questions for Kevin or staff? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the staff comment.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve with staff comments. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? This motion carries. Our final item under final plats is Westover Phase 2A, Rocky Fork, Amable Road, owner developer Westover Developers LLC.
Yeah, this is 48 lots, 14.45 acres as part of the Westover PRD on Rocky Fork, Amable Road. Well, again, we had several comments. There were kind of standard comments. I will point out that Rocky Fork, Amable Road is a minor arterial, and the adequate right-of-way would be dedicated with the plat for their half of that right-of-way for this street. So we did ask them. Basically comments 1 through 7 will need to remain. We did have a comment number 8. We wanted to be sure that right-of-way dedication was labeled correctly so it was 100% clear, and they have shown that, and so we can remove number 8 from there. So just with comments 1 through 7, we would recommend approval.
And this is consistent with what we've previously seen here?
With the PRD approval as well as the preliminary plat, yes.
Okay. Questions or comments?
Chairman, I'm going to abstain from voting on this one.
Okay. You got it, Catherine? All right. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve staff comments.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second? Second from Amy. I have a motion and a second to approve with staff comments. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we are now on to site plans. Our first item is Burn Boot Camp Medical Park, owner developer Burn Boot Camp.
Burn Boot Camp is proposing for a 12,211 square foot facility situated on just over an acre, located on Medical Park. Building would be divided into space for Burn Boot Camp to utilize, which would consist of approximately 42% of the entire building. That'd leave about 58% of the building for retail space. Maximum of that 58% would be occupied by 4 retail spaces. The property is surrounded by other C2 zone properties, and as proposed, there would be 2 ingress and egress points to serve this site, and they're on either extent of the property, one on the north end and one on the southern point onto Medical Park. Vehicular use area on the site, 20,184 square feet. 10% of that for the landscaping requirement is 2,018 square feet, and they're showing for 2,188. Parking required is 61 spaces, and they're showing for 61, and that requires 3 handicap spaces, and they're showing that as well. Landscape plan shows oak and tulip trees throughout the site, along the road, and in landscape islands. Variety of shrubs are shown to be planted along the base of the front of the building and the lining Medical Park as well. Architectural elevations show the building being built primarily utilizing brick and stone with an ephes accents. The rear elevation consists mostly ephes at 17%. This is below our 25% maximum for the secondary materials, so they're still meeting that requirement. The entire building is comprised 90% primary materials and 10% of the secondary materials, so they're meeting that requirement as well. All the standard comments will remain, and we had a couple staff comments. Staff comment 1 was the building may be required to be sprinkled depending on the tenant occupancy. That's more so an informational comment. We'll get to that whenever they submit for a building permit. Comment 2 is a utility comment regarding the tap and valve size of the water meter. And comment 3 was regarding the disturbed acreage being differing from the total lot size. They're performing some work within the right-of-way for as far as the access points and the sidewalk, so that comment's been clarified and can be removed. With that, we're left with all the standard comments and staff comments 1 and 2 to remain, and staff would recommend approval with those comments.
Mitchell, just for clarification, when we look at whether a building's required to be sprinkled or not, is it dependent on use or is it dependent upon square footage or both?
I believe it is the way the building is used as well as the building type, both.
Both, building construction type, I mean, there's, yeah.
Could, this is kind of important, would you mind?
Yes, sir.
It's going to be determined on the use of the building, because that determines the amount of square footage they're allowed to have, for then requires a sprinkler system.
Okay.
The reason that was brought up on this comment here, there wouldn't, they didn't designate what the other uses of the property was going to be. If they do have the opportunity to subdivide it up with firewalls and stuff like that to reduce the square footage,
Okay,
then they might not be required. But we didn't have those details when that comment was made.
all right, thank you, appreciate that.
You're welcome, sir.
Other questions or comments or discussion here? Are we good? Do I have a motion? I have a motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve with staff comments. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Mitchell, just one last thing. Does this have any correlation with some of the fast food restaurants that we're seeing on Sam Ridley to come here and maybe burn off a few calories?
To the best of my knowledge, not, but it could be.
Okay, good. All right, so we are now on to Kingfield, Sharp Springs Road, owner, developer, Landmark Homes LLC.
Yeah, Kingfield's a single-family residential development. About 27 homes to be placed as part of this development located on Sharp Springs Road. Property was recently approved for rezoning from R1 to PRD during the November 2021 Town Council meeting. Proposed amenities to be included with this development include a gazebo, sitting areas, a separate space with benches and walking paths. One of those paths would connect this development to the Sharp Springs Park area. Vehicular use area for the site, 51,390 square feet, which would require 5,139 square feet of landscaping. Applicants showing for 5,636 square feet, exceeding the requirement. Total parking required is 2 spaces per unit at 54 spaces. And they're showing a total of 73, which does not include their garage spaces. That's only driveway stalls and the extra spaces spread throughout the site in the common spaces. Landscape plan shows a variety of trees to be planted throughout the site along the roads and public spaces. Shrubs are proposed to be planted along Sharp Springs Road as well, and per the approved PRD, each home will have foundation landscaping as well. Architectural elevations for these homes will consist of all masonry products, including brick, stone, and fiber cement board, and the homes will have varying styles and architectural design, but will retain the masonry products, which are once again consistent with the approved PRD. Standard comments, all two remain, and then we had a couple staff comments. Staff comment one was regarding the lift station to be upsized, and comment from the applicant on that was they will provide that with as part of the construction plans, and they're working on the coordination efforts for that right now. Comment two, to provide details on the auto turn. That comment has been addressed and can be removed. Comment three, to provide details on the proposed retaining walls prior to issuance of a building permit. The applicant has noted that they will provide that at that time that the building permit is pulled. Comment four, all arced common parking spaces must have a minimum width of 9 feet, and that has been addressed and can be removed. Comment five, to add a check dam at manhole 3, that is a utilities comment, and we'll leave that comment for utilities to address. With that, staff comments 1, 3, and 5 all remain. 2 and 4 have been addressed, and with that, staff would recommend approval.
Questions for Mitchell? I know we had a lot of discussion on this previously due to kind of the uniqueness, and Mark, you might help me. Is this vertical ownership? Is that how, what's it
Well,
called?
it's a horizontal regime.
Thank you.
Yes, but they're single-family residents too.
Right.
So this is the gated community we talked about over there off of Sharp Springs Road, I believe, so.
Yeah, I'm seeing everything's consistent with what we've already discussed and have previously approved. Questions or discussion? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve staff comment.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve with staff comments. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? This motion is approved. Our next item under site plans is Rock Springs Townhomes, Rock Springs Road, at Imperial Boulevard, owner-developer Merriam Maker.
And this is Rock Springs Townhomes. This project is currently under construction at this time. Previously, these plans were approved back in October of 2018 for a total of 16 units. Previously, submittals to that, a couple of them were denied, withdrawn throughout the process. I think maximum on those submittals were 24 units, and we had a couple at 22. After those 22 units got denied, they then came down to 16 units, and that's where they stood and got approved at. So today, coming back with trying to add an extra 4 units to this development, kind of shifted around the site a little bit. Where those 4 extra units are planned on the left side of on the right side of the plans rather, that's where the amenity area was with the playground and such. They've added the units to that spot, shifted the playground over to the other side of the development, and that's how they've tried to accommodate for those extra units in the space. Other than that, though, everything else on this site remains the same. They've added a couple parallel parking spaces along the drive aisle to accommodate for the extra parking spaces at the site. Overall, though, it's very similar to the product that came before you in 2018 to get approved at 16 units. Square footage vehicle use area for the site, 23,747 square feet, and requiring 2,374 square feet of landscaping. Applicant is proposing for 2,840 square feet, meeting the requirement. Total parking, 2 spaces per unit, which would require 40 spaces, and they are showing for 59. Handicap parking is not required as part of this development, being as townhomes, and they are not showing for any as well. The landscape plan shows a variety of trees and shrubs planted around the rear of the property and on the edge of the drive aisle. Trees are planted in landscape islands as well as shrubs in front of and behind each unit, and trees are also shown to be planted along Rock Springs Road. Architectural elevations show the lower level of front elevations built with brick and upper levels a mix of hardy plank and hardy shingles. The right, left, and rear elevations show hardy plank being used, and this proposed design is similar to the existing units that are currently under construction at this time. So essentially it's going to be a mirror image of the products that are being built right now. We had a couple of comments on this. Standard comments 1 and 2 to remain. as well as a couple staff comments. Staff comment 1 was regarding no more than 15 parking spaces without a landscape island, and they have added that island, and that comment can be removed. Comment 2 was regarding calculations with regards to the open space and improved open space for the overall site. This is in coordination with section 4.170 of the zoning ordinance. The calculations they provided are still incorrect at this time. It shows about a deficit from what they currently are showing. They have about 181 square feet, so they're gonna have to compensate for that extra 181 square feet in somewhere on this property. We believe they do have the space to do that, so we just ask that they revise their improved open space to meet that requirement of the extra 181 square feet. So that comment will have to remain. And comment 3 was a utilities comment regarding a 2-inch blow-off at the end of the utility line. The applicant has noted that it has been shown, but it is a utilities comment. We'll leave that for utilities to address at a later time. So comments 2 and 3 will remain, and with that, staff recommend approval with those comments to remain.
So I just want to make sure I understand the order of this. This was originally bought in with 22 units, it was denied, came back with 16, approved, and now we're at 20 with a request to approve or deny.
Correct.
In the prior plan, I noticed that the parallel parking was parallel parking involved in the prior plan.
Off the top of my head, I believe it may have been. I don't know how else you wouldn't, to be honest.
I think they've added more here.
Yeah.
Because they've added more units, but I
Is
believe it was-
C 1.1 where it says existing layout plan? I'm trying to determine if that included parallel parking.
Yeah, there's none there. Let's see. You got about 30, so you got 30, 15, and 16 is 31, and you got 36 spaces for 16 units currently. So they didn't have as many guest parking spaces. We weren't as, I guess, looking at that as closely at that time as back in 2018. So they had 36 spaces for 16 units, so this is proposed 59 for 20. So it's just a little, but there are all the I think there's 19 of those, I think there's 19 if I'm correct on those parallel spaces.
Yes.
So I think you got
Correct.
basically 2 per unit by the townhouses themselves, and then you got the guest parking kind of across the drive aisle from it.
Is there sufficient space between the parking in front of the units to the parallel parked vehicles, so that somebody could safely back from that?
I mean, you've got just 22 or 24 feet wide. So it'd be the same as a typical, if you had a, drive aisle in a commercial parking lot or whatever.
How do they get the extra space when they did that at the beginning of the thing? That's a ditch out front. How do they get parallel parking there with one more space and still maintain the 24 feet?
Yeah, it is 24 feet.
On the original we're looking at here, when the playground was on the right, and they're showing I guess that's the ditch out front. Is that part of the?
Well, I do know that they acquired the property across the street for drainage. So I don't know if the engineer is here, they might could answer that better than I could, but I do know they acquired that property across the street for drainage. It might help with some of that. But
Is there someone here representing this development? Can you give us your name and address, please?
Sure.
Jack Parker with Catalyst Design Group, 1524 Williams Drive, Murfreesboro.
Okay. Mike, you want to?
Yeah, the original plans, of course, show the ditch out front for your water, and it doesn't show, you know, the parking there. Did they move? How did they get the parking? I guess what I'm asking. It doesn't
Right.
show it on one, you've got parking on one, so did the parking, it just, where'd it come from?
Well, I mean, those parking spaces, you're just talking about an additional 9 feet of width, right, for those, and I believe there are a few of them shown previously. I may be incorrect, but basically, we utilize some of the property on the other side of Rock Springs to cut material from there to provide over on this property, and then really all we had to do was just rework the detention area, because there's not a huge increase in impervious area. So the detention basin, as it was designed, it basically had enough capacity for the additional impervious. So we just had to tweak the pond, and we were able to utilize that additional space.
So the property across the street, when that was cut down, that was moved over across the street and added back in.
That's right.
So it was added to, okay.
So from the playground open space area, I can't tell because, you know, it looks like it's gone down in area. I mean, I don't have can't scale it out. I'm just looking at one drawing versus another. Do you know if it's changed, and if so, how much?
I don't know exactly how much it's changed, but the intent was to, at a minimum, meet the ordinance requirement. We may have had some additional space above and beyond what was required previously. But the playground equipment, that footprint of those two pieces of equipment are the same as in the previous plan. So the space is similar to what was shown before. It's just a different configuration.
So right now, according to the staff comment, we don't know if the open space meets the zoning requirement. Is that correct?
Yeah, what we calculated based on the 1.7 acres, which is the property size, they have to have at least 15% of that is impervious, or I'm sorry, pervious space, and then at least 30% of that 15% is to be improved. And based on our calculations of that, they're short, I believe Mitch said 181 square feet. So they're almost there, but not quite.
So how do we make that
For that
up?
improved space, so they're gonna have to add a little bit of area to their improved space. in
When you're
some
saying
form
add area,
add at least 181 square feet of something, some sort of, make the playground larger, add another amenity
and
of some type.
you're saying
or-
there's enough space there to do that?
There's enough pervious area, I think, well, we believe it's either on either side of the townhomes. One side you have the dumpster, so you're probably gonna keep it on the side with the existing, where they're proposing the amenity there on the left side, would be, I would assume. 181 square feet is not that big, it's a parking space size, you
Yeah.
know, it's not that much area really.
My question is, there was a reason it was approved for 16 at the time, and it doesn't look like there's been a lot of change in order to get these other 4. So I guess that's where I am. What changed that allows you now that, for those 4 extra spaces?
Well, the density was always allowable by right. There was some concern with the original submittal, the original proposal at 24 units, The commission at that time, if I recall correctly, had concern with it being too dense. And so, at that time, we eventually just eliminated an entire 8-unit building at the developer's request to get down to 16 to basically get it approved. That was their main concern at the time. But fast forward 3+ years later, and construction costs are through the roof and development costs, and there was a need to attempt to recapture some of that density, trying to get back to the 24, but at least to get a few units and still be able to provide the required open space, parking, those types of things. And so that's how we've gotten to where we are today.
From a density standpoint, where are we as far as R6 goes?
Well, R6, they could have 24 units. I mean, that's based on, that would be the maximum number of units. You're at, per acre, you're at 9.4 now. Their proposal would make it 11.7 per acre with 20 units. So that kind of, just as a comparison, you're about 2.3 units per acre.
Okay.
And there was never a submittal for 20. I don't know that they had 22 or 24, then it went to 23 for a couple. There were several times that staff had submittals that, and this was a different engineer originally too. So the first several submittals. So it went from 23 and then it went down to 22. And staff worked quite a bit with them. That several times we were reviewing drawings that never came to the commission. And then I believe when Mr. Parker and his firm, the first time they submitted, it was 16. I don't think they ever submitted anything more than the 16. So we never actually had a submittal for 20. I don't know that 20 would have been necessarily been turned down if it had adequate parking and met all those requirements at the time. They submitted 16, and so that's what eventually got approved, so.
Okay. Any other questions?
So right now, if this doesn't pass tonight, you are still able to build the existing plan of
The
16
16,
units.
sure, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Discussion.
So it sounds like the only thing that we've got in question right now is this 181 square feet that I would imagine can be rectified, but that would still be like a requirement to get figured out, right?
Yes.
But outside of that, regardless of how we got from here to there and what the history is, I guess the question is, does this meet our current guidelines?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's got in fact, it's probably in some regards a little better just from the standpoint, at least there's actually more parking for guests with of course, there's 4 more units, but it is providing us more parking in that regard. Certainly from a design review standpoint, it's meeting those requirements. From an architectural standpoint, I mean.
Okay.
Which, as it did before, it's the same units.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve with staff comments.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second? Not hearing a second.
Got a question.
Go ahead.
So for clarity in the motion, what area is to be modified?
As far as the open space?
Yes.
Well, they'll have to come back with a revised drawing. I would assume it would be in that area where the existing amenity is proposed, the playground area is proposed, would be enlarged. It would be what would make the most sense. But-
So we're not making them, well, the motion is to approve.
With the comment to that still has to be addressed by, and
Okay, with
staff
that
review.
has to be addressed.
Right, yes.
Okay.
The second line of number 2 shows that it still must meet that section, so that criteria is still there.
Okay.
So we have a motion, and we don't have a second, so do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second to approve with staff comments. Further discussion?
I feel like there's a lot of question about this one, and I'm curious as to what that may be from the other members of the commission.
I'm not happy with the additional density.
Part of the reason I'm not pleased with it is they had an approval and sat on it. And it sounds to me like they just really want to come back and build more. And so, one of the things I look at from a visual perspective is this added parking. Yes, it adds parking, but if you're traveling Front Street, Rock Springs Road, now what you're going to see is cars instead of buildings. They're going to be on the front of the property there, so. But the parallel parking is. So from a visibility perspective too, I just think it kind of, yes, it adds parking, but I think it takes away from the development itself, having all the cars parked out on the front. It's like that. But I agree with Tony, and to answer Tim's question, I was happier before, and
Yeah.
squeezing more in here just doesn't feel good to me.
And I'll go ahead and just, from my perspective, I share some of Mark's concern about the parallel parking that would be fronting Rock Springs there. When we, and, during the initial approval, we had the 16 units, we had the, double parking pad or spaces per unit. We had larger open space, and we had guest parking that was closer to the residents' parking. And from just a design and aesthetics basis, it flowed better to me. I don't know if parallel parking is necessarily a safety habit or safety concern, but it just, again, from the overall design of this, which is very important when we're looking at a density type project. I just have concerns for that.
I appreciate their responses.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
This motion is denied. Our next item is Smyrna Storage Center, 399. Sorry?
It has to be a motion in the positive,
Okay,
so you have
Motion-
to make a motion to deny.
okay.
That just one failed.
So that one failed, so do I have a motion to deny?
I'll make the motion that it be denied.
I have a motion to deny. Do I have a second? Have a motion and a second to deny. So all those in favor of denying signify by saying aye.
Second.
Need to have the basis for the denial, whether it's the parking or those types of things of agree.
Okay, so do we need to vote one
Yes,
more
if you don't
time?
mind.
So, Mark, if you would,
Make a motion to deny, and my reasons are for the added density and the parking, parallel parking questions.
okay. Now, do I have a second for that? Second. Okay, so I have a motion and a second to deny. All those in favor of denying signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion is denied. Thank you, Jeff. Our next item is Smyrna Storage Center, 399 Hazelwood Drive, owner developer Smyrna Storage Center LLC.
Smyrna Storage Center, it's an existing storage center, currently has 2 buildings on the site, and they're proposing to build an extra 4 storage units. 2 of those units are proposed to be climate controlled, and there are two units existing on the site that would remain. The property is on C3 and will continue to utilize the single ingress and egress point, which is onto Hazelwood Drive. Square footage of vehicular use area for the site, 89,501 square feet, which is going to require 4,475 square feet of landscaping. Applicant's proposing for 4,500 square feet, exceeding the requirement. Total parking required is 7 spaces, and that is, the ratio is 1 space per 3,000 square foot of the climate-controlled units. Those other units don't require parking spaces, so as a result, you get 7 total parking spaces as a requirement, and they're showing for 7 as well. 1 handicap space is required among those 7, and they're showing for the 1 as well. Landscape plan shows 2 separate landscape islands on the property. The northern corner includes a proposed stormwater pond with shrubs lining the perimeter, and the southern corner shows several trees to be planted in that area. Architectural elevations submitted to staff show photos of similar constructed buildings in other jurisdictions that show all metal single-story buildings. So at this time, we have not received actual elevations of it. We've only received photographs of all metal buildings, which are in other jurisdictions. We had a couple standard comments, all to remain, as well as staff comments. Staff comment 1 was regarding the fire department and traversing the site with the fire apparatus, and the fire department is satisfied with that at this time, so that comment can be removed. Comment 2 is showing the construction type, and that these buildings may require to be sprinkled depending on the construction type, and that's something that would be addressed when it goes to the codes department for building permits. Comment 3, to submit address and unit number layout plan prior to issuance of any building permit. Comment 4 was to add the van accessible ADA space to the added 7 parking spaces, and they have done that. Comment 4 can be removed. Comment 5, buildings C and D are to be built on the property line. The building code will require that the wall to be fire rated, and that is something that, again, will be reviewed at the time that it comes through for building permits. Comment 6 was in our fire department comment, and that has been satisfied and can be removed. Comment 7 was the connection to the water main on the south side of Eden Springs Road West will be required to be bored underneath the road. More so a informational comment than anything else. Comment 8 was a question about the total amount of impervious surface area. They did show the total amount as it stands today, but did not show the proposed amount, so we'd like them to show the proposed amount. Comment 9, to provide architectural elevations, as I mentioned earlier. We've only received photographs of existing buildings that show all metal. We will require them to submit architectural elevations before we approve it, and those will need to meet design review as well. And comment 10, to provide details on the proposed retaining wall they have behind building D, I believe it is, on the southeastern side of the property. With that, staff recommend approval with those above listed comments. Comments 1, 4, and 6 can all be removed, and those rest will remain at this time.
So our packet shows you staff recommended denial.
Correct. Yeah, the building D, like I said, the southeastern building, they've had that labeled on the plans as a building. In talks with the engineer, between the fire department and engineer, it's been discovered that is not a building, it's a canopy type structure that will be for RVs, boats, and of that nature. So that changes up their determination on what's required as far as the site's concerned, and then traversing throughout the site, they've came to the conclusion that it's safe enough for them. So those were the two main reasons why we did recommend denial of it. And now the fire department's satisfied, we feel better recommending approval.
I guess that was my concern when I was originally looking at it as well, Tony, when, I was looking at a comment as far as what was required to get behind a building, or if it would be required, and I had no idea until I saw this, that Building D was actually a canopy.
Canopy,
Yeah. Mitchell, tell us a little bit. I know that one of the comments were the elevations as far as what might be required depending on where the building was at and how it's situated. Could you just expand upon that a little bit for?
Yeah, they may
Commission.
use metal on the elevations that aren't visible from a street, similar to other projects we've had done here in town. There's one on Florence Road that's a similar storage type facility. What they've allowed to use metal on the elevations that aren't visible from the road, and then you have to meet the material requirements on those elevations that are visible from the road, such as your hardy brick, stack stone type material.
So what roads are we taking into consideration here? Would it be Hazelwood, Enid Springs?
Enid Springs, definitely. We'd have to take a look, see about Lowry Street, because you do have that little bit of a distance. You have the railroad tracks between them as well, but I'm not sure off the top of my head whether you can see it off Lowry Street, but we'll take a look at that when those
Okay.
elevations do come through. And then Hazelwood, yes, for sure as well.
Okay.
One of the questions we had too, because we didn't have the elevations, we didn't know the height of the buildings. So you have like existing, what their label is A and B, will somewhat hide at least building F and some of the other buildings, because it's what they have told us anyway, is these are gonna be single story, basically the same height as the existing buildings. So, they may not be very visible from Hazelwood, except for potentially building C, but I think you're probably gonna be seeing more visible from building, or from Enid Springs, probably more
That
than
was my
Hazelwood.
kind of thought.
Really, because the existing building's gonna hide
All that property there is still open. You'd be able to see it.
all along Enid Springs, it
That-
is,
That's
yeah.
all floodplain over in there, is it not? A lot
I
of
know
it?
there's some drainage issues along some of that. Of course, the town owns one of those tracks on Enid Springs, and then another one directly east of that was recently sold out on auctions. I don't know exactly who bought it or what's planning to be built there or anything like that. That is privately owned. I don't know if it's any floodplain over there or not. I know there's
I
some
think there was
drainage.
some back there by the railroad track.
There might be. And there's definitely some stormwater.
Well, when I say flooding, I meant
happens
flooding.
there,
I should have
yes.
said, yeah, not
Yeah.
floodplain, but,
Yeah.
yeah. My
Probably
mistake.
should be a flood.
Real flood.
Okay, other questions for Kevin Mitchell's staff? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve with staff comments, Chairman.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second to approve with staff comments. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion carries. Our last item under final plats is Store Place, 5916 New Nashville Highway, owner developer 2156 Associates.
Yeah, self-storage is proposing a 11,677 square foot self-storage facility. The property requested and received a PUD amendment to allow this self-storage facility during the November 2021 council meeting. Currently existing on the site are multiple other self-storage facilities as well as an office building, which would all remain. The new building would be placed where an existing concrete driveway is located. The existing pavement would then be removed, seeded, and strawed. As a result, one entrance and exit would serve this facility. Square footage of vehicular use area for the site, 12,209 square feet, which would require 1,220 square feet of landscaping. The applicant's proposing for 3,635 square feet. Parking required of 3 spaces, and they're showing for 5, with 1 handicap space. Landscape plan shows variety of trees to be planted along the north and south property line where the new building is proposed to be developed. Additional shrubbery is shown around the base of the building and in the rear and front of the parking area as well. Architectural elevations show the building to be finished primarily with brick and ephes. The rear elevation will not be visible from a public roadway and will not need to meet that 75% material threshold. The other 3 elevations, we have received revised elevations, so the other 3 elevations that have been revised show primarily brick and glass and glazing, which do meet that 75% minimum requirement at this time. The total percentage of EFS for the entire building may not exceed 50%. And currently, as a result of this revised elevations, it is now down to 11%. So all things considered, they are now meeting our design review requirements for elevations. Standard comments 1 through 5, all to remain. Comment 1 is please provide the existing proposed fire flow. The engineer has noted that the owner will provide this information at a later date. Comment 2, the existing septic. We want to know if the existing septic system is adequate for new development, and to provide documentation from TDEC groundwater protection prior to issuance of a building permit. Comment 3, to show any proposed fire hydrants, and the applicant has noted that no additional hydrants are being proposed at this time. They're awaiting results from CUD. Comment 4, to revise those exterior elevations, and they have revised those elevations to meet the design review requirements and that PUD amendment requirement as well. 5, the side setback on the southeastern side of the building must be staked before any footing or slab inspections can be done. That's more so an informational comment. Comment 6, to revise all sheets to show that the new plan development, so that the existing development that is to be removed is not shown on the plans. There are currently 2 existing entrances to the site, northern and southern. As a result of this new development, the southern one is going to be removed, but they were still being shown on the plans. So we just ask that existing asphalt and concrete is not shown on those new plans where the building is to be shown. And then comments 7 through 17 are all CUD, and those will remain. The only comment that can be removed is comment 4, and the rest will remain at this time. And with that, staff would recommend approval.
Questions from the commission? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve staff comments.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second? Second from Amy. I have a motion and a second to approve with staff comments. Any further discussion?
I want to revisit design review just for a second. Are those percentages acceptable as far as, this is a chance to actually improve that area with a good-looking building. That's a lot of EFS still.
Well, the revised plans are, yes, what they had submitted originally, yes, I would agree we need to update. But the revised plan that we received, they're actually well exceeding what we require now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
Did you
that's,
say the percentage that they trimmed down to? Yeah, I thought it was half or what, I mean. it's-
Overall, for the site, they reduced that EFS down to 11%.
Okay.
okay.
From 40-some percent.
Yeah, because the only thing it's not, the only thing that will not be seen is the back.
Yes, and they're showing
Towards
EFS on the
exi-
back of the
And the
building.
existing office is gonna stay.
Correct.
Okay.
So there won't be any facilities here, restroom or anything in this building?
That, I'm not sure of.
Okay.
Yeah.
If not, then, you know, whatever's there as far as the septic, because it's on septic.
The septic is most likely gonna be okay. We just want a verification
Right.
from TDEC before we do a building permit.
Because that's no man's land, isn't it?
We hope they're not living there.
Yeah.
That answers my question.
Okay, so we've got a motion to and a second to approve with staff comments. We've had some discussion. Any further discussion needed? All those in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion is approved. February bond review.
I'll go through this one, so I'll try to go through these quickly. The first one is Buckingham Place, Section 1, Phase 2. So that's some items to clean up there. This is actually the end of the maintenance period, but I don't see the work probably won't be finished by the 16th. It's only a couple of weeks. We had recommended release if it's completed, but I think it's going to be difficult with the weather and different things. So we would recommend an extension on this one. There is still some things to finalize and clean up there on that one. Woodcrest 3 is kind of in the same boat. Of course, just still some things that need to be cleaned up and finalized. So we would also recommend a 6-month extension there to give them the summer to get those things finished up. Workers Bend, Section 1, Phase 1. This is one we've had for a while. Did talk to that developer. They have begun work on the next phase, and it's the same contractor is going to be finishing up the work this spring on this phase. So would recommend an extension there to allow for that work to be cleaned up there and finished up. Cedar Hill, Section 2, Phase 2. This is one that's basically nearing completion, but they still do have to finish the final topping and everything, and did talk to that developer that they are looking to pave and finalize everything this summer on that. So I would recommend an extension to allow for them to get that finished up. Buckingham Hills, that is something again nearing completion as far as the houses, so would recommend a 6-month extension on there again to get into the summer and give them the time to finish the work. Smyrna Industrial Park, this is the one that we heard 3 Industrial Boulevard was extended. And so they have finished the work out there. Would recommend a reduction there to $25,000 and extend that 1 year as their maintenance bond. And then the landscaping, we need to confirm, I think still, but they have talked with them. They have actually planted some things. We initially thought they were going to be planting in the spring, and I think they actually ended up doing that in the last fall, they've said. So we're going to confirm all that. But if everything's done there, we could release it. Otherwise, we would want a 6-month extension. We'll confirm all that on that one. And then Woodmont 6C, that is, everything's in good shape there. We do need to have their 1-year maintenance period, so we would recommend a 1-year extension on that at the same amount as their maintenance bond. So that's what we got.
You know, Kevin, I think maybe the biggest complaint that I receive from residents in new subdivisions, and I think, Tony, you've been there, Mark, is that final topping, getting the streets finalized so that the subdivision's completed. And I realize that you can't do it right now. We've got to get to the warmer weather and get it done. I would just like to make sure that, we don't get past the season that it can be accomplished on
Yeah.
not
So-
only these, but some of the other ones.
Yeah, and there's several in this month's report that they need to get done this spring.
Yeah.
I mean, they really do. They're at the
Especially
point.
if you're at 100%.
Yeah,
It's
your
time to get it
housing
done.
is, if you're done building houses, get the work finished up
Yeah.
and move, and get it done.
Yeah, because you don't have the big commercial vehicles out there and
Right.
the other, I'm trying, bulldozers and trackhoes and all that, they're gone.
Right.
And we don't accept them into the town until the top coat, right? So they're still responsible for maintenance.
They're
if
still
something-
responsible for the
Yeah.
maintenance, yeah, until we release that bond and really fully, we have that maintenance bond even, you know, so for a year after they get done, so, I mean,
And it's to their benefit to get that top coat on because anything could happen that they have to go in and repair the road. That gets
right,
pricey.
and you also, the top coat kind of protects, because that binder is not as, is more porous, and so if you have the weather like we've had the last few weeks with the freezing and thawing and those kind of things, you should have to go in and make a lot of repairs on the binder before you can put the top coat down, so it, you know, it makes sense for them to go ahead and get it done, for
Yeah,
sure.
let's make sure we stay on top of these guys, because we're getting them to the season that this can all be done. Okay, any other questions, or comments concerning the bond review report? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve from Tim. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the bond review report. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The bond review report is approved. This should take us to staff comments and other business.
I don't have anything tonight.
Okay. Anybody, we good out here? Chief, you good? Thank you. Anything from the commission? We stand adjourned.